First of all, good afternoon to you friends in the media. And as usual, let me apologize once again for our inability to start the press conference exactly at the scheduled time. But the delay is for a cheap purpose. Today, the National Party has invited you here for a very important exercise. So, please, let all your focus be here. And again, I'll plead with you, when you are sending the information out there, make sure that you report exactly what will be said over here. A number of you are doing a good job, and some of you too are not doing well so far as our partnership with you is concerned. So we encourage you to, as much as possible, try to give accurate reportage so far as our partnership and engagement with you is concerned. We have here my colleague, the Deputy National Communication Director, Dr. Sidibokru, who is here to support our director. We have a host of constituency officers and regional officers here. Because of time, I will not be able to mention their names. We also have members from the TESCOM fraternity who are here to support the press conference today. Without any further delay, I humbly invite to the podium the National Communication Director of Communications, Dr. Richard Ayaba, who will be taking us through the press conference today. Director, you are welcome.
My sincere apologies for the delay in starting. We had wanted to do this very early in the morning, but please forgive us. We're due to some factors beyond our control. First, let me welcome you all here. Continually evaluated against the promises and real actions they take in government. The New Patriotic Party, as we invited you here, want to address you in that spirit, that we have a responsibility as citizens to hold. So sincerely join with us. Let's make sure the government is doing what it is supposed to do and what it promised it would do. And that's the conversation this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Democratic Congress, while in opposition, claimed Ghana's economy had collapsed and that only new leadership could restore hope. And I'm sure you remember the 2024 campaign. In contrast, by the end of 2024, this is the fact as we have it, data showed inflation had fallen from the very high 54.1% in December 2022 to the mid-20s. GDP growth projections exceeded 3%, and the exchange rate had stabilized. These figures signal a period of stabilization and recovery, directly countering the earlier narrative by the NDC that our economy had collapsed. The main issue, ladies and gentlemen, is not whether there were challenges before the NDC took over in 2025. There were challenges. But before that, there were challenges before 2025, and you know this very well, that our economy experienced some strong headwinds, and the matters that led to that, you know, COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine. But before that, this is part of the conversation that is not often said, but before, to analyze our economy, or any economy for that matter objectively, it's important that we consider its state during transition. Where was the economy when the NDC took over in 2025? Ghana's macroeconomic indicators, as I pointed to some earlier, at the end of 2024 show recovery from crisis to stabilization. Inflation had come down from the high 54, declined steadily to somewhere about 20, in the mid 20% by 2024 when we were leaving office. The decline The decline in this, positive decline in these economic indicators was driven by tighter monetary policy, exchange rate stabilization or exchange rate stability, and improved fiscal discipline. Now you hear the finance minister talks about fiscal discipline as though they invented the word. That was actually happening, and this Bawumia government had actually done a lot to actually stabilize the economy for them. So fiscal discipline, as they like to talk about it, is not a new word in Ghana's economic lexicon. Unemployment, ladies and gentlemen, you will remember very, very well, was decreasing, and cost of living was improving before we left office. Again, real GDP, after slowing down during crisis, during the COVID-19 crisis and the Russia-Ukraine crisis, surpassed 3% projection, as then it was driven by services and industry growth. The economy, ladies and gentlemen, expanded and not contracted. And this is very important to note, that when we were leaving office, this economy was expanding and not contracting. And you remember very well, we left office with a GDP growth of 5.7 when we left office. So that is a clear indication that the economy was expanding and not contracting. The city, which is now the solution to all the NDC's problem, when you ask them, they say, oh, the city is stabilized, the city is stabilized. As a matter of fact, the city that fell sharply in 2022, and all of us know what happened there, had stabilized by 2024 when we left office. And the evidence is there for you to verify and share with your viewers and listeners. And there was also evidence of high reserves, which you know about the Gold for Reserve program that helped Ghana build strong reserves. So we left office with just about a little over 9 billion in reserves for the NDC. Fiscal consolidation, as I said earlier, was achieved. This has helped altogether to reduce imported inflation, especially on fuel and food prices. Today, with this recent increase in fuel, I think that the cost of diesel today is higher than it was when we left office. And these are some of the facts that we need to underscore for ourselves so we can hold this government accountable to deliver as it promised freely in opposition. On the fiscal side, the government made progress on consolidation. Commitment to primary surplus under the IMF program, enforced spending discipline, I've indicated that, and better revenue mobilization followed that. These actions built investor confidence and reduced macroeconomic uncertainty. This was the situation before we left office. These indicators confirmed Ghana entered 2025, which is when the NDC came into office. Ghana entered 2025 with economic recovery, not collapse, as the NDC would like to tell us all the time. When you hear them and they come to your station, they say, oh, the economy was bad, the economy was bad. It wasn't. It wasn't, and we have to stay on the facts and not the propaganda. The NDC is always busy feeding all of us, and sometimes I think that you allow them to carry on with that propaganda. The economy entered 2025 as a recovering economy, not a collapsed economy. So maybe in one of these days when they come to your offices, your media house, and they are saying those falsehoods, I think that's important for you to correct them. President Mahama inherited this progress, but ladies and gentlemen, instead of building upon it to benefit the citizens, to benefit Ghanaians, this government is reversing the painstaking gains that was bequeathed to it by the Bawumia administration. And I say painstaking because we all remember the difficult choices that had to be made in trying to achieve debt sustainability in our country. That has become a gain for this government today, as we have debt to GDP ratio right now in a very good place, and we are trending towards probably about 55 as projected by the IMF program. This difference is not just numbers. It is it's a felt experience, and it is expressed in the hardships that Ghanaians are experiencing. And these are reported on your portals, how difficult things have become in our country. It is not us saying, but you are the ones reporting them, and we are reading them as a report. Governance should be measured by its impact on citizens' welfare, not just macroeconomic stability on paper. And that's what we see today. They tell you that the city is stable, but then when you go to the market, your cost is going up. Transportation cost is going up. Your utility bills are going up. So you wonder what exactly is going on when they tell you that the city is stable and the economy is booming. They told workers when President Mahama in 2025 stormed the organized labor negotiation room. He told them that, oh, the economy is so bad, and that if they allow him to agree to a 10% base pay increase, when the economy improved, all of us will benefit. Sure enough, they told us that the economy improved unprecedented in 2025. But when it came to negotiating with organized labor for wage increases, he couldn't even do the 10% that he was able to do with a very bankrupt economy they claimed in 2025. But he said the economy has grown. So if indeed that was the case, why didn't President Mahama give workers a higher wage increase as he promised them in 2025? So this government, by this measure, the President Mahama and the NDC administration is failing, because the divide between economic recovery data and everyday reality is growing most noticeably in many aspects of our economy. And I'll talk about one particular one that has become a big problem, which is the cocoa sector. Cocoa farmers are feeling the pinch of the so-called stabilizing economy, a heritage economy that was expanding instead of sustaining it. The NDC is vanquishing that game, and farmers are, among all of us, are the very bad receiving end of that, and we'll talk about them briefly, and we'll talk about the youth also briefly. In 2025, global cocoa prices rose due to supply constraints. Ghana had an opportunity to boost farmers' incomes and rural economies by striking while the iron was hot, to secure a forward sale contract that would have locked in higher price for our cocoa farmers. But the NDC and cocoa board sat on their hands and watched whilst the market tanked. And after the prices fell, the NDC organized a big emergency cabinet meeting only to come up with a price cut for farmers. Now, the difficulty with that is that it wasn't the farmers' fault. It wasn't the farmers' fault. It was the fault of the government. It was the fault of Cocoa Board not to be alive to their trading responsibilities. It was their negligence that led to that missed opportunity. But when push came to shove, the NDC government decided to hand the hardworking farmers, the hardworking cocoa farmers, the short end of the stick. The government imposed a 29%, about 28.6% price haircut on farmers, which then means that on each bag of cocoa, farmers were losing 1,038 Ghana cedis per bag. 1,038 Ghana cedis per bag. Most cocoa farmers, on average, produce, say, about 10. The medium ones will produce about 100 bags annually. Now, imagine the loss. For those who are producing about 10 bags, they are losing close to about 10,000 380 Ghana cedis under 10 bags. Now imagine what it will do with 10,000. And for those who are producing close to about 100, are losing somewhere about 103,800 Ghana cedis on the 100 bags. Now I have a quick question, and I think that we should all ponder those questions. How fair is this price cut to cocoa farmers? Would President Mahama's appointees, I won't talk about the president himself, would President Mahama's appointees give up their salary due to revenue shortfalls? The finance ministry, perhaps Ghana Revenue Authority says that government revenue is not performing. The NDC appointees accept salary cut indefinitely, just accept it. They won't. The question is, if they won't take a salary haircut, why are they offering that to farmers? Is it because President Mahama and the NDC thinks that farmers are easy targets? Is it that they think that farmers are pushovers? Is it because the farmers will lay quiet and take it, and so therefore they can give them a salary haircut when indeed what is bringing it about is the NDC's own fault through Cocoa Board's inability to read the market and strike when the iron was hot. Ladies and gentlemen, this is insensitive, this is wrong, and this is misgovernance on steroids. These failures are not isolated. They have severe consequences. Cocoa farmers now face significant losses that undermine their welfare, the larger rural economy, and threatens Ghana's export revenue from cocoa and jobs. What is worse, ladies and gentlemen, is government's response. You can take political criticism from the New Patriotic Party and say, oh, it's politics, even though it is not, because when people's lives are caught in the balance, there's no amount of politics you can use to justify it. But when the Catholic Bishops' Conference sat, looked at the issue, and called on the government to reverse the crude shaving of 1,038 Ghana cedis off the price per bag for farmers, referencing its likely impact on rural areas and livelihoods in our rural communities, this government ignored them. His Excellency John Dramani's government ignored the humble appeal of the Catholic Bishops' Conference. Now that is insensitive. That is insensitive. So the government ignored them and is continuing with this harmful policy that I can tell you is aimed at killing the cocoa sector, because what it's likely to do is to force farmers to choose away from cropping cocoa anymore, because they are in that business, they are in that enterprise for their livelihoods. They are not in it for fun. They are in it to take care of their families and take care of themselves. And so if government's abuse of its monopoly, because you can't sell cocoa to anybody in Ghana but to Cocoa Board, and if government, because it has that power, it can abuse it and cause farmers to lose as much as 1,038 Ghana cedis. If I were a cocoa farmer, I'll think twice next season to plant one or to expand my farm. And that decision may affect Ghana's exports, which inevitably will affect our foreign exchange earnings, and therefore our current account will suffer in terms of inflows. This demonstrates, ladies and gentlemen, that Ghana cannot, and what I mean Ghana, I mean you cannot rely on an NDC promise, because contrary to what haircut they are giving to cocoa farmers. You remember, you were part of the campaign in 2024, the NDC actually says they will pay cocoa farmers more. They told all of us that they will treat cocoa farmers better than the New Patriotic Party. They mentioned high amounts as though like it is just there to be given, and we will not give it. 6,000, 7,000, they promised they will pay. That's what they said to win power. And now they have come to office. Even what the NPP was paying, which was 3,100 before they took over, they can't pay that. They cannot pay that. The NDC came to office, increased cocoa price twice, altogether about some 500 cedis and 25 of some 425 Ghana cedis. Altogether, they've increased it just about that much. But they have reduced it more than they have increased it. But they promised they will pay them more. So the question is, can we take NDC's promise seriously? Because they promised one thing and deliver the worst form of what they have promised. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not just a mismanagement that we're seeing in the cocoa sector. It's a consequential failure and disappointment of the people that we, or Ghanaians, must make the NDC pay for it at the polls when the time comes. This is because the pain the government is putting farmers through could have been avoided. Could have been avoided had Cocoa Board's management not been negligent of their responsibilities. And this is where I'd like to commend the mighty minority in Parliament, the minority NPP caucus, led by the Honorable Alexander Penyo-Markins, for their steadfast effort to defend and empower cocoa farmers in these trying times, to let them understand that what is happening, we will stand with them, and that we will not leave them, and that we will let them understand that the government had a better way, or there are better ways to deal with these matters, and that if we were in government, cocoa farmers would not have seen this reduction. So whilst we advocate with them, while we support them, whilst we advocate for them, it is inherent promise and commitment that this will never happen. And this, if it's possible, under New Patriotic Party government, cocoa farmers will not see these crude haircuts. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk about a similar unfulfilled promise and failure by the NDC government in the area of youth employment. Youth unemployment is on the rise in our country, and that one, you don't need any soothsayer to tell you that. Conditions are worsening. The youth can't find jobs, but meanwhile, the NDC promised they will give jobs to our young people. And many who, in good spirit, voted for the NDC are today regretting in droves. You saw what happened at the Elwak Stadium, where a recruitment, eventually now that we see, was a fraction of what numbers went out there for the recruitment, which unfortunately about 6 of our brothers and sisters, young brothers and sisters, who were just seeking to find employment to serve our country, lost their lives because the NDC could not create opportunities for them as they promised. The NDC promised us, the young people of this country, a 24-hour economy. They promised that, and we told them it wasn't possible. They told us we didn't understand, that we didn't know. But a year on, we are only hearing about authority. If it was about a 24-hour authority they wanted to establish, I can guarantee you that nobody will vote for that. Because there are so many of these authorities in the country, and the jobs they are creating are finite. We understand what they can do. They are regulatory authority. They have to regulate other enterprises to be able to create the jobs. If that's what they are coming to do, they are not going to create the jobs. The environment for the jobs must exist. And we said that this the possibility of a 24-hour economy is demand-driven. It's demand-driven. It follows the demand. And they told us no, but now they have created authority. How is the authority going to create demand? If private enterprise, if production is not going on, if demand for products that companies are producing does not exist, creating an authority will not create demand. There will be no 24-hour economy. This 133 they talk about is a fallacy. It's not going to happen. It's a lie. And that's why I say that we have all become witnesses to this the hard way, that we cannot take the NDC's promises seriously. We can't put any premium on it. Because from the get-go, people should be clear in their mind that this whole thing about 24-hour economy was for votes. We promised free SHS and we did it. And when we promised free SHS, it was not as if it was easy. The NDC didn't believe it. They told us it was not possible, but we did it. That's how you keep a promise. That's how you make a promise and keep it. So when we did promise, we delivered. But they promised 24-hour economy. It is not happening. It will not happen. I can tell you that. Sadly, it is the young people of our country who are going to suffer that disappointment. Over a year in office, little action has been taken. And as I said, what we have is an authority designed to benefit cronies, associates, people walking about in the corridors of power. They are the ones going to be getting these appointments at the authority, but not the youth that was on the streets, that was canvassing, that hoped, that prayed that there would be a change, as the NDC told them that that was the only way that Ghana could go forward. And so they believed it, and they voted. It is not they who would get a job. So when anytime we tell them and they tell us back in your studios that, oh, but we have created the authority, let them know that that authority is not going to create jobs for my younger brother at home. It's rather going to create jobs for their cronies, their friends, and their families. Not the young person who needs a job, honestly needs a job, and believed in that fake promise of the NDC. So sadly, youth unemployment and underemployment persist and is worsening. Many young people are trapped in informal, unstable work. Rising graduate unemployment shows deeper evidence of how this government has no clue how it is going to solve this very, very important problem. The lack of clear employment opportunities raise significant concerns about national security and development. Campaign rhetoric, ladies and gentlemen, has not turned into practical programs and gains for our young people, sadly. However, in a desperate attempt, and the president feels it, in a desperate attempt to pull a fast one, fast one on us, the president at the State of Nation address said he has created over 1 million jobs. You were there, the camera is calling. That cannot be a slip of tongue. Cannot be, and it wasn't. So immediately after the State of Nation, it was fact-checked, and it became abundantly clear that the President Mahama overestimated, inflated the number of jobs he has created by some 670,000. Can you imagine that? 670,000. How do you make that mistake? Ghana Statistical Service data shows some 330,000. 670 because he knows his government has failed to create jobs. So what does he do? Inflate it. And that's what the president did. And the State of Nation is a serious platform. And I can tell you that the handlers of the president took time, painstaking effort to prepare that statement, and it was not a slip of tongue. Intentional overestimation of the numbers to create a false impression that they are doing something which they are not. And that has been their stock in trade. Propaganda, using media operations to address matters that borders on bread and butter issue. When somebody is hungry, you can't talk sweet enough for the person to feel their stomach. It's relative. That one you can't do it. They talk sweet in opposition. Now it's bread and butter issue. It's an hour for them to deliver, they can't deliver. So what does it do? Inflate the number of jobs. It will interest you that even if you go to look at the 330,000 jobs that they're talking about, it's not a job you'll be proud of to have. It's not a job that will pay you a sustainable wage. It's not a job that you'll go home and tell your parents that yes, indeed, you took me to school and I've got that job. The balance of them are construction jobs. So this government is not creating jobs for our young people. And soon enough, it's become clear, but it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Let's talk about one other matter which is of concern, and the rising fuel costs that we have seen recently, and that is too rapid. And it pushes one to ask, where is this stability they were talking about? Where is this thing they talk about? The CD is strong, the fundamentals were there, and we're trying to create an impression they have done something. When we all know, since they came into office, there hasn't been any transformational policy the NDC has put in place. They are merely continuing and implementing the policy principles that we set in place. That's pretty much what they're doing. But it says that they have achieved something. Now, instead of demonstrating capacity and the dexterity to come up with measures to cushion the Ghanaian people, at first notice, they want to increase or they allow the fuel prices to go up. They won't take responsibility for it the same way they did to cocoa farmers. They will transfer the blame. They will get messages all across the country. And if there were any experiment you and I can do, and I give you my phone to go through my WhatsApp messages, you understand what I'm telling you. So how they manage to trick Ghanaians to believe, remotely believe, that the NDC can actually deal with that I'm saying is beyond me. But somehow they tricked all of us into thinking that, oh wow, the NDC can fix it. And the evidence is here for us to see that the NDC's promise does not match its delivery in government. And instead, Galamsey's problem persists and is demonstrably getting worse. On the labor front, you'll recall recently, I think there's a 2-week reprieve that CLOSAG has given to finalize negotiations with the government. But there is tension at the labor front. Labor relations reflect a broader pattern of government strain. Tensions with CLOSAG indicate underlying issues of trust, consultation, and harmony. There have been more industrial strikes before the CLOSAG one recently, namely the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, the National Identification Authority, remember they also had a demonstration, Teachers and Education Workers Union, TEU, and the Technical University Senior Administrators also had that. And so public sector workers are essential part of policy implementation, and any strain in relations with organized labor can undermine administrative effectiveness and delivery of government services and staff morale. But we see a lot of that because conditions of work of all our brothers and sisters and mothers who work in the public sector is nothing to write home about. And I indicated to you earlier, when President Mahama came to office, he told them to accept a 10% increase. And when it becomes, when the economy gets better, he will give them more. But he didn't give them more, he gave them less. He gave them 10 and say, I'll give you more. And 9 is not more. He gave them 9 instead of more. So finally, let's talk about one issue that we've been talking about recently a lot, and that is to do with governance ethics and conflict of interest matters that have arisen. Concerns about governance, ethics, and conflict of interest raise fundamental questions about public trust. Allegations regarding the president's use of his brother's jet is one that strikes at the heart of public conflict of interest. And in fact, it borders on the president's own code of conduct. And this is especially important when the brother of the president, Mr. Ibrahim Mahama, has interest or is involved in government contracting. He's interested in our natural resources, he operates in that space. And so for him to be doing or to be seen, to be blurring the line, the separation between him as a brother and the president as a president of the republic is dangerous, because then after a while, you and I will get used to it, because he's using his brother's plane. So if his brother facilitates for him to go and buy the diamond mines or give him the Nyinahini or Black Volta, it becomes normal, because we have seen it. Familiarity, they say, breeds contempt. So when we begin to see the two as one, today we see his brother in his private jet, tomorrow we see the president in it, after a while it becomes normal. You accept it, that it's okay. It's okay, it normalizes what ought not to be normalized. It's a terrible thing that is happening, and I think that we must speak against it, we must resist it, that this does not continue. Even when these matters were raised, I hear people from the Jubilee House, the government spokesperson, my own good brother, Idris Afuseri, were questioning and arguing with Ghanaians and saying, if he uses his brother's plane, what's wrong with it? And the question I want to ask them is that, so is it okay for Mr. Ibrahim Mahama to exercise presidential powers? Is it okay? Because the two are one. We are now normalizing their relationship. So if he can fly in his brother's plane, bring my brother's plane, I'll fly in it. Can he also just say, bring me, let me come and chair cabinet meeting? Can he do that? Is that okay if that happens? Is he not doing that already? I told some media house that this perhaps will be giving some presidential liberties to that flight that his brother owns, because the president of Ghana uses it. So if he goes to a certain airport, they say, oh, that was a flight that the president used. Certain liberties will be accorded it. That's a breach of national security. That's a breach of national liberty that such individuals should not have. So that is all, that is for us, that is the reserve of the state. It cannot become a private domain for the president and his brother to exchange as though they have it for themselves. It is not a private domain, it's a public domain, and the president is a public servant and not a private person, and to be using his brother's assets as though the state cannot provide it. So Mr. President's use of his brother's jet should provoke our collective outrage. And we must send a clear message to the president that we will not stand for it, because the risk it poses to Ghana is too serious to ignore, especially considering that the president was involved in some conflict of interest matters earlier regarding a certain Ford expedition in the past. So that tendency is there, that history is there to be mindful of. That should guide us and not fall in that trap anymore. It is the responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, of we, the Ghanaian people, of we, the taxpayers, to provide for the president's movement. It is a responsibility of the state to provide for the president's movement, not his brother. And we must be clear about that, an economy that was on the path to recovery. But in just over a year, Ghanaians are worse off under President Mahama and the NDC. And I've shown you some evidence. Farmers are earning less for their hard work. Young people are pounding the streets even harder without finding opportunities. Opportunities are not simply available while the NDC dilly-dallies with its grand promise of creating a 133 job opportunities for our young people. That promise was not kept and will not be kept and cannot be kept because it is not a practical promise that was given. It was a hoodwink. It was a vote-searching promise pulled out of left field to deceive young people to vote for it. Again, cost of living is rising, and that is occasioned and worsened recently by the increase of fuel prices. At the same time, serious questions about governance and integrity are emerging at the highest level. This, ladies and gentlemen, is not a failure of the NDC government to deliver. It is a grand betrayal of the trust of the people of Ghana that was given them on December 7th to govern this country after they have engaged in a systematic deceptive act to tell us all that they have a magic wand, which after a year we have seen they don't. If this is how, and I want us to ponder on this, if this is how the NDC manages recovery, then Ghanaians must ask, what will happen or what will the NDC do if a real crisis does happen? They inherited a recovering economy, and this is how they are managing it. Imagine that a real crisis on the scale of COVID-19 happens. How will they handle it? Already you have seen indication of how they will handle it, because in less than 3 weeks, they said Iran is their problem. And so they have to increase fuel prices. They have not made any plans at all to cushion you and I. And so that should give you an indication that if real crisis come, the NDC will leave us all hanging. And this is the reason, this is the point I would want to invite you to shed all the propaganda the NDC is making against the New Patriotic Party and ponder how Ghana was in the first 3 years of Nana Bawumia administration before the misfortune, and also ponder how we came out of that crisis, how we lived them a recovering economy, how we're able to build back on the back of that timeless promise by Akufo-Addo to say that we know how to bring back the economy, but we don't know how to bring back a dead person. And indeed, we did bring back the economy. The NDC inherited it in 2025, except that they are unable to translate the gains into meaningful opportunities for our people. And that's why I think that we should punish them at the polls in 2028 to ensure that we get back to a good day where the New Patriotic Party will give honest effort in trying to address the development needs and aspirations of our people. Thank you very much. I think we can take a few questions. Oh, okay. Do we have any T network here?
No.
So briefly, the idea kind of said NDC for Bawumia 2025. Now, before we need Abachono, Bawumia. Now, Omo catch Ghana for you say, oh, NPP, buying Ghana economy. Ghana economy, I say, now the back to me a CAC, Ghana economy, and Tangier and now so you say, a better Obama or now say, Santo Obama NPP, the other Ghana Bukujo talk. And a Ghana for a tea near to Obama NPC. Now, say the name Canon, Portugal ceremony. Before NDC for Bedia, now Ghana economy, not economy. indicators and I say evidence I want you now from IMF sources, World Bank sources, Minister of Finance sources. Omu nyina kire say na sabre no Ghana economy no esini na so. Abra COVID ebaye ebe say puntu ayenya every 2017, 18, 19. Ghana economy what is susu Nigeria de no a it is Accra ni Ghana. And I say it is can say Akolane and papa and I say Ubini the papa. The sizes are so different. Yes, Nigeria for economy no super ye. Or more ye the papu 100 and more million people. And Ghana 32 or 33 billion. Your land size, Masase Kakra, economy no so ye ba. But 2019 no. Omo I was capacity and share a group and say Numamu Africa has say no. Bebrena emu say Ghana economy no who are corner chain. Fast watching the Omedoba Nyano Nigeria. Natural say, sir, 2019, na Ghana economy no, na economy. As 2019, economy, December more na ete COVID come. Kakra na fi ade beti atisi. Ma Ghana economy no ye shati na nyina trefi. Trefi. Enti sa ohawo no Emma, Diana, you started here 2017, 2018, Air Force 2019. You just body we are seeing financial now. Say Ghana economies are almost covering power. We are seeing financial now. Where IMF data and trade. Say Ghana kasai kuru. But then nam say yadie. Say minimum na ha meeting for me. Say yes, is here na bitia me ya na say bibi hamis is here na say yadie bi bomb ya. Me na minute ago, minimum ha me to me, MSIB. By Emre. Enti economy Nigeria and national. A son said COVID by be pursue economy into. If you are financial in Ghana and economy no, and who basa. And you can crack a cranny 2020. Economy now grew 7% from 2017 on average, 2017, 18, 19. No. 2020 they take off from 0.5%. And I mentioned here 2021. Yes, I think I go do 5.36. 2022 budget, November 2021. And then they call Parliament. Mokai. Sa COVID buy any or how I feel mobile na say oh ya trafie aban say sika e dey boy who buy who kai asema president akofo ado kai say COVID dey abai the decision the policy I say we boni pa who buy say baka say oh we dey oh yes economy no better tell pan something man you say there say me yes na nipa ni we me den akonyane o but the economy ni dey say ya na ye bond pa ho ban ya e dey free mu fia e betumi aye dwumaden e dey economy na ba biu enti ampa kufaro e kwan bia fa kwan bia so make sure say Ghana for etumi nya ye TDD mu no mo no 2022 budget e dey for 2021 November and ye dey levy 2 mu say yanji levy na yemfa entity kama yabo and is for so montada no kasa for the first time in a long time, they are passing budget. Implementing budget, but the revenue now, a budget in wage man, you are passing. I was in May, sometimes I say ever passing COVID 11 tax handle. Creating problems. Now every one of February, now Russia, Ukraine for one tier one. And also then to pass shares affecting yes financial during that time we call UK. I call UK, I see a bad and I play on the soul there. And that this day when they took for no extra feet and yeah, when you to give me that now at the chair, the ballon, the play because workers in London were agitating for pay increase because inflation has gone up in London. I'm sure what the more media and Timothy is the highest level of inflation in UK, all decisions. But sad difficult decisions when you take a mindful say about and then no actually no it to be 2022 inflation could do 54.1. But through a Jumading and put them on the par and they Ghana for Masadi Dani. And before I free up 2025, no, I'm at NDC for Abba. Now, economy, no, has sorry, Abijana, the I say, NDC for mobile, no, Kakra also, a bit to me, I abuano, now my PJ will be here, I could do my PJ. But I won't buy a month to me, I never saw. Bia to want to me anya sa because want me here the sa nka neno nka be bo pushi anka sa war here kind of Iran ne Israel for na America for ye nka nya dey say na say ya say dey too fuel and then this war I was so chain abra ye fi abem because all kan mo say o na petrol abafo and then diesel no more dey che abra na NPP war abem. Every day, but it's an indication, say, your man, a GSM. And it's for sure, boss, a youth and youth employment. Now, a 24-hour economy. And then 24-hour economy, no, and my end to me, Basso, so you can't say, I dare no, end to me, yes, I said, you must see count, and yes, I did. Say, you know, hey, but I say, oh, me nursing for a registered nursing for exam, no about the nurse. Abrawan call school. A school nurse call and so when you're saying, I saw what size exams, so I'm a registered nurse. And yeah, can say so. By 24-hour economy, as I say, a month for no per se a toy year. And as I didn't know what tono and as you producing the Ghana, a month for penny good war. It is a year and a pound to 5 o'clock now. They ever produce and so tall. Enti yenye ma ebi pon 5 wa ebi sumbra na ebi sumbra sa tibia no mu na obetumi aye 24-hour economy ye kai bia ni for that ye de enimu be na abai ye kai na ana ye gina and then ade omo say ebeye eduma ama ye babunu no aba be ye eduma authority ama penifo aye bobo tie mo ase call retirement na kotena ho president na fofo na kotena ho. Now, Bebru na ye to boy a far year campaign or a friend said Lego or a university campuses. Smoke NPP, Lusu or Lego. And now the ballot box or two was a NDC for a tab more one. Yeah, 2 more. Because someone who said NDC for that. NDC for that. Coco, if we are for a tail Ghana, ha. There are Eric Opoku, Dr. Eric Opoku, a Greek minister. The Casa of Khan, Krumha, called program, this should be ABC, says, a mobile month to me, and Gia was 6,500 now, more canwa. Then, Yanyamo, or catch a host, they say, now say Bruce Anwa, or more batch, they say, Poponi, or Modia, and I say, Quinidia. Home Casa Mokai. I will be Casa as a put on Tabama, and in I was Rebukai. And I'm there, and go VH. Si come back to your crown and where campaign say North to my NPP. I'm one man talk about my NPP because every bit me to more and you tell me 3,100. And on back to you. Really, sir, 3,100 and now be no Casay. And this one tissue, and this year tissue below the obeying here. Ye jail care for I put forward 3,100, almost say, and no crowd and yo. No, my baby. Your multi for 2,587. Until when you have my was here, I want to crawl more. Then is for a year. Go cook your fire bubble. Every You know, I say, and this was a omoba on the board, but you must say, a intro. Economy no any in so. Say the economy was in so, and this over to me up the pine so a pushy farmers, and then ya take a cocoa so, but he ain't here. On the cocoa, we are forecast 11 billion. 11 billion cities. On my release somewhere around 4.2 billion. And the can now cocoa cratchy for now more talk cocoa. Almost so quite busia and a toy. What the acum? It is sky their more. What they could share on bank interest in the aka. And find my cocoa, it is still cocoa for in Jomokai. But I'm not a cocoa board. I'm not a Jubilee House, a emergency meeting, and no tea. Almost salary in the king kai, or more gin. And yes, it's Sano. And yet, as I dear we are in this way, a idea. I said, you're making sure, as Ghana for say, the better muscle. Because Tron, I'm going to be near Bano. Until next time, you will say, Assembly NDC, the country during campaign, and Yasamoa, I said, with the 2 team, because I am Tron, a Mogo, and you know, Bruce, a Benya, a Queen, and I said, you're making sure, I said, punish or say, San Troya, would ye, your mom can't mom fast, I told you. Now, mechanics are not in part to say, there is a trend. Maybe we are the first, no, they aren't here. Yes, you want to fan shop. But I'm going to down Eddie and Tron. Okay, it's a one-time premium. Yamokai, and this is for can say, one-time premium. I go see say, one more the Kayo, more to me, and I done almost by 2024 years, okay, you're more quiet, yeah, or massacre. But, a moon to me and sacra. The more ye say, o moon to me and sacra. Now, some back also swar, hard and this is for opposition. So I'm going to within 24 hours, and the air kind of galamsey, no be ye or better tech. But and then on one cassa a year galamsey. Mon penny for the Jatum, and I'm no cassay on national organizer. Era Yami. I see a referral for some investigation. You whom the airport will find one of them first vice or second vice. Ora banga, you say you investigate your momati. Yes, sorry, NPP for Omonia, and never seen a Dubai, your mom saw no a tree, no any copper, I say, or my bonino. Evidence in the way. But on one crop for a young galamsey, I can say, Moko Rimono, what was about to be? And TV. It's galamsey, and this is what I say, and nobody winning power, but yeah, so we hear a fat galamsey. Yeah, now, Papa, yes, sir, and Neno, Galamsey, and Tatisi, or Marcasa, a share of Munkofo Kutupa. Yeah, the resource of Mamma Munkoya Galamsey, because I didn't the island, and then all to Galamsey Noir. There were gold board. To be at me to gold or Ghana, J. Okotoba gold board. 80 Galamsey, 4 Galamsey, no wine or more Tom gold no more. Because gold board for a police for an asset security for. Yeah, call rounds I checking. 80 say, oh, and told gold ama gold border. Now we are Galamsey, I ain't say Galamsey, a cosso will be to me now, will be a cosso. I ain't see for your hammer air cosso. Almost no one more Tom go number 5. I asked him 7. Then this is for Ada Ghana for say, obey a Galamsey fuel by Neno. Galamsey air cost. Now, assemble a consul NDC for war position. I'm more criticize here. I may chat for. I say, friends and family, government. Among tier, among pet and yard dear. Among woman says I dear no. I say a mark my age. But who have more? Who father a breast of friends and family no away. And then the other one, I have friends, family, lady friends, and brothers. Baby. Now, I know Granny as I take you to the next level. Say, no, your brother, But to me, I kind of technically so act as president because on any president in the far play back. Because until where you say the private plane up here presidential jet use. Into to us our friend in years old, Master me to Quambra, Abraso, Mama Gano, so me to this. Yeah, I say, I could do a hammer, I could have all play to an old. Not Ghana, tomorrow, I say, conflict of interest situation and arising. Be in power time to say we. Yeah, who wait or president for our president. And the can say, President to normal to say o fee A apple B, so person to quan so person go space, so person pass as say Ghana for the taxpayers and they say you provide the money or yes, and yet and yet put your Ghana and yet yes, sir, or no, and we are no after your more changing. I say, whom you president, boom, Debbie. I say, a man president, who say, or a president of the Republic of Ghana, Nimia, on your president. They play no on fan to a man. Who president in India, I may have done the party back opposition. December 2028, December 7th, the Twabana. Now, I swear new government in 2029, January 7th now, about opposition. And no, on to make with your baby. But for now, they need here. So I get a conflict of interest. Now, the only one I say, yeah, my same way, you need come on here, say, President, there may be a tribunal. He was involved in some conflict of interest matters involving some Ford expedition behind the man. And then, this year, they never Ford be one aeroplane. Nimia, also so, and then Ope Ghana gold, Ope Ghana bauxite. Now, every year we use the plane. No, that's why I mean, so we play. I mean, so many that mine a year. Miss Minko J. He made black voter. All kinds of same we are. So, over to me, there, man. And finally, say, oh, Papa, at a referee. Now, they be out there for gave you on your penalty. They be on your penalty. So, who did I tell her? And you always said, Papa, a referee is on your penalty. They be on your penalty. Because new papa a referee you know. They hear this about 18 more. When you do 18 more penalty. 120 years. Now man high five probably to man the penalty because person your penalty. Then Tino, so idea way a dangerous idea I say making sure say president of actually way free. The democracy, you know, 2 million Ghana 2 million. Or yes, then you know, to me, what Jubilee House, and they are selected of Bakufo. And also, one of I am 100%. And move to do now and Twamano. Take a Caribbean to man and democracy at Tessie 50 plus 1 out to be called. Until Crony and Twaman is on fire your bed. Undi Brasso. On Wankasa, I a code of conduct, I say. OG gift be ebro 20,000 or say 25,000 and you're acceptable. You have to declare. Now on no accepted play here they are so they play that channel or to a petro get woman. Is it not against Onagasane conditions or the other say the for interest of financial? It's the idea they you know say making sure says I way young financial. Now you're making sure say we will do the president accountable. Now, why are they say fatal? Now, the democracy, Akoso. And the minute chat one and they say, President Mahama, that will be a trade move, President Pufo, if you are and the economy, grow any job. President Mahama, if you are now economy, no, a table from 3.4 and will free so. The sign Abba, Sankanya COVID-19 and the baby try in them one. Economy and the job. Nanka from 7 to 8 and 9% annual growth in the job. But in the economy grew about 6%, 5.7%. And the economy from propaganda or economy economy a move through. Now the can say Besha Mokina, no one making sure say Juma start here no, the cost of now to me are creating Numa, am I a bedroom gun higher. Now I'm making sure say cost of living member for. Now we just say all to electricity, nay, and soon any house. Now 1 minute US for the bomb or two Iran or say a luti on my increasing forward. Now we guys have because economy no, said the mom or more China, I'm more between economy and I know and then all the shocks are, I mean, empire all the shocks are very free, Iran issue in Mabano. I have shock be anywhere on to me, and I said, be anyone to me, they're pushing Ghana for. And yes, said, me and fa this election year, I called in December 7th. I got 2 ma NDC for 2024. Young fan yet is you say NDC for the young fire in 2 Boshi be on the share. So because Bosch or machine now, or mobile 1 year, or to me, NDC. So enter, I mean, the animal be shared there more. Or more day a feed Ghana program by Mokai agreed for economic transformation. The FAPIM, and I said the implementing organ of the agreed for economic transformation, a feed Ghana. But minimum Casey, BBRM. I try your request is on my information about that. You can cover some 3-4 days. I knew you know, I want to find my answer. Remember, Mugina Mate. My dear, you know, I bet you have no more. There you and try NDC for a day at Tiaber. Near that, my dad Ghana for. Now you know, you said by ya, ChinabU, young follow for a Montreal and a propaganda, said by a young papa. Namunina said, so be a new questioner. Now, Madame was said goodbye.
Thank you, Director. Let's wait for Bawumia. We have in our midst a very beautiful lady, Patrice Orewa Siam, National Council member, America and Ghana.